Welcome back, everybody, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today, it is episode 112. It's a really exciting one because we are talking Project Hail Mary, one of my most anticipated films of the year. My third most anticipated film, to be exact. I saw this in 70mm IMAX last weekend. I am so excited to talk about this movie. I'm actually dying to watch it again. I've bought the book. I'm excited to dive into that. We have so much to cover today. Up top in the news, we're going to talk about the Oscars. We're going to talk about Dune Part 3. And we're going to talk about a little movie called Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's going to be a really fun news section where we can talk about some trailers. Then, of course, we'll hop into Project Hail Mary. Then we'll end the episode with what else I watched, where I went to the theaters quite a few times this week, watched some new things, as well as a new TV show on HBO. We have a jam-packed episode. Before all that, I hope you are doing well. What a week it's been. We are post-Oscar season. I'm so excited to be out on the other side. Today will be our final Oscar chat until next year, really. And thank God, because I am so sick of it. I'm excited to just watch whatever I want to watch, or watch whatever I want to watch for a video, whether it is, right now I'm watching all the Best Picture winners, which you can catch me talking about in a YouTube video I'm going to have next weekend, talking about the Best Picture winners of the 2020s, or just watching whatever TV shows I've been missing out on, because there's tons of good TV on right now. But of course, as always, timestamps below. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, just listen to the non-spoiler section. Of course, I'm a non-book reader, so there's going to be plenty of things in this movie that I may have missed or I didn't pick up on because I don't get the deeper context from the story. But timestamps below. We have the news section, the non-spoilers, the spoiler section, what else I watched, all that good stuff. But what do you say? Let's jump into the news. All right, I want to debrief and start the news section with the Oscars. I think it's important that we just sort of step back. How did the evening go? What did I think? And I did a little bit of a video on my social media just talking about how I did on my predictions. I did 21 out of 24 on my predicted winners. And then on the ones that I was hoping would win, I think I did 15 out of 24, so not that great. But with both scores, I did better than last year, so that's all right. So the Oscars overall, let's start with the telecast. Viewership was down this year. It was down 9% from last year. It hit 17.9 million viewers. I mean, it's the lowest since 2022, but let's be real. Nobody is watching live TV. It's a very different world we're living in. Still, it was the number one primetime entertainment telecast of 2025-2026 season. It doubled the Golden Globes viewership, which was 8.66 million, and social media impressions jumped 42% to 184 million. Thank you, Sinners. Thank you, Timothée Chalamet, Ballet and Opera. I think they are all too thank for this. So here were the big winners of the night. Weapons won one award with Best Supporting Actress, Two People Exchanging Saliva and The Singers won one award each. That would be the Best Live Action Short. Sentimental Value with one award. That would be Best International Feature. Mr. Nobody Against Putin, Best Documentary. Hamnet with Best Actress. The Girl Who Cried Pearls, Best Animated Short. F1 with Sound Editing. Avatar Fire and Ash with Best Visual Effects. All the Empty Rooms with Best Documentary Short. K-Pop Demon Hunters with Original Song and Animated Feature. Frankenstein with a bunch of the technical awards, so costume, makeup and hairstyling, and production design. Sinners won 4 awards. What was it? Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Original Score, and I can't remember the fourth one for Sinners right now. Why can I not remember it? But anyways, it won 4 awards. And then One Battle After Another won 6 awards with Casting, Supporting Actor, Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing, Picture, Director. It had a big night. So I think mostly the awards went down how we thought they were going to. It was going to be a Sinners, One Battle After Another night. I mean, those were the 2 movies we were talking about the entire award season. Why would they not be winning, on the big night? It seemed like it wasn't that surprising of an evening. Maybe the Michael B. Jordan win surprised some people. I didn't predict it, but I definitely knew as soon as I uploaded my video, as soon as the actor awards happened, I was like, okay, Timmy is not winning this year. It's going to be Michael B. Jordan. Really cool moment. I think that was probably one of my favorite moments of the night was Michael B. Jordan winning. Aside from that, I have to say The Girl Who Cried Pearls winning was really fun. It's a Canadian short film from Montreal, so that feels like a big deal. Then, of course, we have the Autumn Gerald Arkapaw win for cinematography. I thought that was fantastic. Like, that was just such a fun historical win to witness, and I think everybody in the room was kind of fired up by that. Of course, Sinners is a beautiful movie. I loved how the movie looked. Oh my dear God. Especially like the dusk shots as the vampires are starting to come out with like the chopped top Arkapaw, Vampire Hunters as well. All of those sequences are like my favorite looking sequences. There was a little bit of a doubt, like, oh, maybe One Battle After Another's actually going to take Best Cinematography because it had, going up to it, Michael Bowman had won a few different awards. So there was a little bit of doubt there, but really fun historical win for Autumn Gerald Arkapaw, who's the first woman to win Best Cinematographer and the first person of color to win the award. So it's just a really crazy precedent or a first time win for someone like her. And it's just amazing to watch. Let's talk about some of the big surprises of the night. Best documentary, I have to say, Mr. Nobody Against Putin winning is kind of a bummer. I thought that documentary was extremely self-indulgent and the subject matter wasn't just being presented in the best way possible. If you don't know, I've talked about it on the show, but Mr. Nobody Against Putin is about this guy that works at a school. He's the school videographer, and he's making a documentary for the BBC about how the militarization of schools and propaganda sort of becomes more prevalent when countries go to war. So the documentary is about him sort of experiencing this change in his workplace, and it was interesting, but it's extremely self-indulgent, where the main guy, he's doing these like confessionals in his apartment where he's like breaking down in front of the camera, and you can tell he's really putting it on for the camera. And I don't know, it really was too much for me. I really thought it was going to be The Perfect Neighbor or it was going to be The Alabama Solution. Those were the two front runners for me. I was disappointed that one. Also, a big shock in the night that definitely nobody in the world predicted. There was a tie, only the 7th tie in history, the 3rd time in this category, I believe, which was Best Live Action Short. So the singers and two people exchanging saliva both tied. And I want to give a huge shout out actually to Kumail Nanjiani, who was the presenter for the tie. He told everyone, this is not a joke. We have a tie. What I'm going to do, I'm going to invite the first people up. We're going to have their speech. Then they can go off. We'll all clap for them. Then I'm going to announce the second winner. They'll come up. I thought he handled it like an absolute pro, despite Conan absolutely roasting him before he went up. He said, this next presenter has the body of a Marvel superhero, but the voice of a Marvel collector. And it was just a hilarious jab that I don't think he was expecting. Should we talk about sort of the big thing of the night outside of One Battle After Another winning director and picture, which I think we all knew that was realistically going to be the case. It had like the best pre-Oscars package you could really have going into the best picture battle, like WGA, DGA, whatever awards possibly you could say. But the Michael B. Jordan win, and pretty much what everybody took away from the evening is, oh, Timothée Chalamet lost, Marty Supreme went 0 for 9. I think, everyone that's being like, oh, it's done for Timmy, nobody cares about Timmy. Realistically, he's going to be okay. He's still very young. He's a 30-year-old actor. I think, if anything, the Oscars this past Sunday just proved that Timmy is the new Al Pacino. He's the new Dustin Hoffman, Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's going to have to wait a while for his first win. They're going to make him wait. And it's going to be for a movie that's probably not as good as Marty Supreme or as a complete unknown. I don't know. I'm not that beat up that he didn't win, because I would rather, honestly, he wins for Dune Part 3 next year, which I don't think he will. Notoriously, the Oscars do not reward the big franchise actors. They didn't do it with The Hobbit. They're not going to do it with Timmy and Dune. He didn't get acting nominations for either of the Dune films, so it's probably not going to be that. As for Timmy, what's next for him? Obviously Dune Part 3, but Timothée Chalamet is also going to produce a film adaptation of Playground by Richard Powers. The Booker Prize nominated book follows Todd Keane and his two best friends from the University of Illinois through the tech boom of Silicon Valley to the phosphate-mined Polynesian island of Makati. The story explores love, friendship, and the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence. So he's going to be okay. He's already looking to the future. He has a few movies lined up. I think we shouldn't let the Timmy sort of drama and people that just wanted to dunk on him all night take away from Michael B. Jordan's win, because that was a historic moment for Michael B. Jordan, of course, but I think just, for Sinners in general, that was a big deal. Was it my favorite performance of the 5? Absolutely not, but I still can acknowledge what a cool historical moment that was. As a huge Timmy fan, yeah, I'm disappointed, but it was still a cool evening. As for the future of the Oscars, Conan O'Brien apparently has a standing offer to host the Oscars as long as he wants, or at least until 2029 when the show leaves ABC for YouTube, which I'm very excited for because these speeches getting cut off, just ridiculous. The K-pop Demon Hunters people, woof, that was rough. But speaking of Timothée Chalamet, I know I sort of moved on to something else. Should we talk about Dune Part 3? So the day after the Oscars, we didn't even get a full 24 hours. Timmy posts the first look at Paul Atreides, or Emperor Atreides, in his still suit on his Instagram saying, trailer tomorrow. Then we get 9 character posters from Dune Part 3 posted by Warner Brothers, which looked absolutely fantastic. The day after, so this is on Tuesday, we get the first official trailer for Dune Part 3. I am happy to say this movie looks absolutely absolutely out of this world. It is the best trailer I have watched in a while. Yes, it is better than the Odyssey trailer. I have to say, hands down, I think this trailer looks electric. Denis Villeneuve has confirmed that Dune Part 3 takes place 17 years after the events of Part 2. He said, quote, "If the first movie was more of a contemplation, like a boy exploring a new world, and the second one being a war movie, this one is more action-packed and tense." I would say this is a war movie as well. And I was watching Calder Dune, the YouTuber slash content creator who does all of this Dune stuff, this morning when I was writing my notes, and he made a really cool revelation that, the colors of this movie are very much orange and blue, that the soldiers are all either wearing blue or orange. The poster for the first movie is blue. The poster for the second movie is orange. And this is, the battle for the mind of Timmy, or the not the mind of Timmy, but the mind of Paul Atreides. So this movie is going to be, can we get this redemption of Paul Atreides, or is it sort of a lost cause? We have the Fremen fighters who are the hardcore radicals versus Chani, who believes Paul could still be good. I'm very excited for this. Of course, we also got the first look at Duncan Idaho's Gola, also known as Hate. Denis Villeneuve had to say he comes back at just the right moment in the story, and it's very important comeback. Paul is struggling with his identity, and having that kind of strong Atreides figure coming back from the past will have a tremendous impact. Remember, Duncan Idaho was Paul's best friend. He was the Atreides family sword master, so he was a big influence on the family. He was a big presence in the household. It's going to be fantastic to see. We also see Robert Pattinson, who says he was super eager to play a character in Dune Part 3. That's quite unusual from the book, so he's playing Scytale. He said, you can't really tell whose side Scytale's on. That's what kind of makes him quite interesting. I wouldn't say he's a conventional bad guy as such. He might even be a good guy. Who knows? I will also find out when I see the movie. It's an extremely fun character to play, and the look of it is quite extraordinary. We also, of course, saw Elia Atreides, or Elia. I don't know. It's so funny how there's no standard nailed down pronunciation of so many things in Dune lore, because some of the audiobooks pronounce it differently. All of the new editions look fantastic. I think this movie looks incredibly tense. It looks like there's going to be a real, I don't want to spoil anything, but conspiracy thriller behind the scenes stuff that's going to be fantastic to watch. I'm so excited for this movie. Dune Part 3 looks like it will be the best movie of the year. It was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it continues to be. Let's talk about another movie that maybe I didn't have as much love for, but Spider-Man Brand New Day. So on the Tuesday where we were getting the Dune Part 2 trailer, Spider-Man Brand New Day was releasing 2-second or 1-second clips on social media, and they posted 22 clips total, and they were just doing them throughout the 16 hours. So it seems like Marvel Studios' big new media marketing strategy, like the chairs, how can we hold people's attention for as long as possible and annoy people? Just like the Marvel Universe, maybe it's staying too long. Their marketing campaigns are just the same, with the chair thing that went on for 9 hours. That was just peak unemployment where I watched the entire thing. Then we have Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is posting way too many clips. At that point, just post the trailer. Now, the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer is said to be the biggest movie trailer launch of all time, with 718.6 million views, beating Deadpool and Wolverine in second with 365 million. I think Marvel is counting the impressions across all of the 22 clips plus the trailer, so I highly doubt that's actually true. But as for the movie itself, let's get into it. I think it looks promising on a story level. I'm very excited to see story-wise where this can go. I like that it's sort of Peter Parker 4 years later. He's a loser. He's by himself. It seems like he's sort of finishing college, if I'm not mistaken, or he's at least at the end of his college journey, because I believe in the last movie he was in his senior year or his graduating year from high school. So we're 4 years later now. He's probably in his graduating year of college. MJ and Ned live across the hall is what I maybe gather, or something like that. This is a story about his powers mutating, where he's starting to get, natural web shooters, and that's really interesting to me. I like what I'm seeing. Is there too many characters? Maybe. I don't know if I love the Punisher involvement. I don't know if I need the Hulk involvement. It just seems like there's going to be a lot of people in the story. I still don't understand who the actual main villain is. Is it Mr. Negative? Who are these ninja people? Is that the Hand, from Daredevil and stuff like that? Maybe. But what I do like is Tom Holland said this is a movie about when young people really find out their identity and become adults. It's about evolving. That's exciting for me. I want that young adult Peter Parker, like we got in the Tobey Maguire movies, where he's just sort of finishing college. He's having to figure out his life. I think high school was fun for a little bit, even though we got, 20 minutes of high school, and that's only in Spider-Man Homecoming. I wish we got it a little bit more throughout the trilogy. But what I'm really excited excited for is Peter having to figure things out by himself without the Avengers, without Tony Stark. What doesn't excite me about these movies, the visuals look very, very, very boring. And I saw someone, there's this one frame where it's MJ and Peter on a rooftop. Someone said, holy dear God, you can imagine this is starting to just look like those AI videos that are being posted online where it's all just like one color, one tone, and really boring to look at. And it's not moving very much. Like, completely agreed. I was shocked to say, yeah, this is sort of starting to look like one of those AI slot videos that you would see someone posting on Twitter that would be a paid Twitter ad. But I'm hopeful they can maybe tweak things before the final product, maybe some real color grading. I think the suit, when it's actually him and not a full VFX shot, the practical suit looks fantastic. I love how poppy the colors are. I love, the mix of blue and red is perfect, that there's not too much blue on it like Andrew Garfield's first Spider-Man suit. It's a little bit, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield hybrid into one, which I really, really appreciate. So I don't know, I'm a little bit lukewarm on it. I might post a video on my social media, 3 things I want from Spider-Man Brand New Day. I might already be posted by the time you're listening to this podcast, but a pretty good week for the Oscars wrapping up, and then big trailers. I thought Dune Part 3, not Dune Messiah, because they're clearly doing a little bit of Children of Dune, but not totally. And then Spider-Man Brand New Day, a big week for trailers, but it's also time to talk about a big movie I've been excited for a while. Project Hail Mary. Once again, timestamps below. Only listen to the non-spoiler section. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm highly encouraging you, go see this movie on the biggest screen possible. This is a movie you have to see in theaters. Then come back, listen to this. We also have the What Else I Watched segment after the Project Hail Mary review, so stick around for that. But here we go. Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary is a 2026 sci-fi adventure film coming in at 2 hours, 36 minutes. It is directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Their first live action movie in, dear God, it's going to be like 10 years since 22 Jump Street. Written by Drew Goddard, who also did The Martian, another Andy Weir novel adaptation. The budget was $200 million to $250 million, and I have to say, you can see every dollar spent on screen. This movie's gorgeous, and the reviews are extremely positive. 8.5 on IMDb, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 96% audience score, 4.4 average on Letterboxd with a 5-star mode. And those positive reviews are carrying over through the box office, because this movie, projected to make $100 million worldwide in its opening weekend, looks like it's going to be a $70 million North American box office. Project Hail Mary made $33.1 million in its opening day at the domestic box office, including previews. I think I also read that it's like the biggest opening day for a non-franchise movie ever, and it's the biggest since Oppenheimer, if I'm not incorrect. So seriously bonkers how much money this movie is making, and I think it kind of shows the thirst that people have for original, big, bold storytelling that we're loving, like taking these beloved novels, because people love Andy Weir's writing. People do love The Martian. People love Project Hail Mary before the film was made, and people want to see these original ideas, these great, bold adaptations that are using IMAX. They want to see these space adventures, these hopeful sci-fi adventures, which we'll talk about. So I think this is a movie right now that is very reflective of where we are in Hollywood, of people wanting original stories. People aren't really gathering for the, Marvel movies as much as they were 10 years ago. Now it's about these auteur, huge swings like a Odyssey, like an Oppenheimer, like a Barbie, like a Project Hail Mary. They want to see our favorite directors making these big visions that they're looking after, like a One Battle After Another, like a Marty Supreme. Those movies make money because people want those types of stories right now. We're moving on from the superhero comic booky stuff. A synopsis for Project Hail Mary, however. Science teacher Ryland Grace wakes up on a spaceship light years away from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission. Solve the riddle of the mysterious substance causing the sun to die out. He must call in his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction, but an unexpected friendship means he may not have to do it alone. The film stars, of course, my Canadian boy Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace, Sandra Huller as Eva Straught, James Ortiz as the voice of Rocky, Lionel Boyce from The Bear is absolutely fantastic as Officer Steve Hatch, Ken Leung as Yao Li Ji, Milana Vaintrub as Alexia Ilyakina, she's like a Russian astronaut, Liz Kingsman as Annie Shapiro, and Orion Lee as Ji. Fantastic cast in this movie, but here are my initial thoughts on Project Project Hail Mary. It's officially been over 7 days since I saw this movie. I've had some time to sit, reflect, how do I truly feel? And I gotta say, fist my bump, because Project Hail Mary is so fun. It's so warm. It's so silly. Sometimes is it too silly? I'm not sure yet, but it's simple for its own good. It is just such a good blockbuster spectacle. I think this movie is just an absolute blast. No pun intended, I guess you could say. It's very, very good. And I've had multiple people who, don't go to the movies every weekend. They don't watch every new release. They have texted me. Two of my very good friends both saw this movie on opening weekend and the biggest screen that they possibly could, saying how much they love this movie. So this is a movie that is making a splash. I saw it, like I said, 7 days ago. I went 55 minutes away from my apartment to see this movie in 70 millimeter IMAX. It was my very first 70 millimeter IMAX projection ever. I saw it at the Cineplex Vaughan. It's one of the 30 theaters in the world that has true IMAX projection, or true 70 millimeter IMAX projection, and it was totally worth the trip. I thought this movie was absolutely bombastic to have with a big audience. It was sold out theater, of course, a week ahead of it coming out. People were going to these advanced screenings. They were selling like hotcakes, although do hotcakes sell that much? I don't know. I worked at McDonald's for 5 years. Didn't sell that much. But the screen, I think I didn't realize walking into the 70 millimeter IMAX, I never realized how big the screen is. It is like floor to ceiling, wall to wall. The whole fucking theater is basically the screen, and it is just astonishing to look at. Especially, this is shot by Greg Fraser, and we're going to talk about the cinematography, but this film does such a good job living up to the scale of the screen. I was so blown away. I want to see more 70 millimeter IMAX projections. As always, let's start with the performances. However, Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace. I think he is so good in this film. He really is one of the greatest to ever do it. Whatever subject matter he's given, he dives into it, he fully commits, and I think he sells the hell out of any film or any friendship, any relationship that he's in. He's hilarious here, he's broken, and he is a man who is lost and trying to find his way and trying to find his purpose. I loved his performance so much. The chemistry he can have with a rock puppet is so endearing, and also his chemistry with Sandra Huller, who I think she is fantastic as Eva Straught. She's very good. She's really not in the movie that much, or as much as I thought she would be, but when she is, I think she steals the show. She's fantastic. She's one of the talents as well of our generation. After Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest, Sandra Huller is just a complete knockout. Then we have, Lionel Boyce as Officer Steve. I think he's a great companion for Grace as well. I loved his coolness, his belief, his friendship. Same thing with James Ortiz, who is voicing Rocky. I think he brings so much personality and love, humor, sort of friendship and companionship for Ryan Gosling. It's just the cast is so good in this movie. Everyone does their role to a T and just absolutely nails it down, and they're given so much sort of freedom from the directors. And the directors, speaking of, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I think these guys know how to do sappy stuff. Like the Lego Movie, of course, is a very moving story. They know how to do the big crowd pleaser films, and this movie is very much a crowd pleaser. I think that's maybe holding it back a little bit at times, that it is a crowd pleaser story, but they also know how to do spectacle. That's one thing that after you come out of, the Lego Movie, that's a big movie where you're seeing every single kind of Lego set coming to life, every single universe clashing together, and Project Hail Mary is the same. This is a spectacle movie where there's big swings, there's big character arcs, big character moments, and it's all just coming together in this huge, fascinating story that is a really beautiful mixture of like classic sci-fi movies, whether it is kind of Interstellar, or it's Interstellar that meets E.T./Sunshine and then meets Apollo 13, where we're on this mission that they have to return home, and it's a special thing. I really love the direction from Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They feel like they have so much trust in their actors, and they really do just kind of let Ryan Gosling run free, and the way they respect their actors to sort of just dive into their characters fully, it doesn't feel like they're trying to leash them or pull them back at all. Maybe sometimes that's to the detriment of the tone of the film, because this is a very sappy, dramatic, funny, like it just sort of spreads its wings and goes everywhere. But I think the movie does a really good job, and the story overall just jumping in right away, and we're immediately in space. We're with Ryland Grace. It's been several years since he's been on Earth, doesn't know who he is. And I think the first, hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours of this movie is just go, go, go from the very start. And it's just like we're off to the races right away. And it's a mystery all of a sudden. Those are movies that win over crowds immediately when we don't have 40 minutes of exposition, catching people up, trying to introduce and handhold too much. Another movie I saw this week, Ready or Not 2, feels like it doesn't get going until an hour in versus, Project Hail Mary. Right away, you're like, okay, what's Ryland Grace's deal? Why does he not remember things? Then you start to understand, you get to know him, and it's just a lot more fun that way. Now, of course, this is a book adaptation, and I do have to say that I think the script feels like it's really tethered to a book and needs to get out as much as possible from that book. And, I did hear some elements that are a lot larger in the book that are kind of shrunk down to 2 minutes in this film, and it's very evident that this is a lot of material that is being put into one film. Maybe it's a little bit too much for me, but on the flip side, there's absolutely stuff that is chopped out. Like we kind of make these huge leaps, like whether it is Ryland and Rocky being able to communicate, that's all in the trailers, and we'll talk about the trailers in a little bit, but in 1 minute, they're trying to learn their first words and they're trying to communicate for the first time. Then, 5 minutes later in the film, they're having full-blown conversations with perfect translation and all of this stuff where it's very rare that they're having communication issues. I understand that as an audience, we need to trust that, okay, off screen, they figured it out. That's why it's so easy for them. But there were a few times in this movie where I'm like, whoa, that was a big leap to take from 20 minutes ago to now versus the problem is no longer a problem and it's absolutely flawless in this moment. So I think there are some maybe pacing issues or like material adaptation issues where something that's going on for 90 pages in a book and is a big mystery in the book or a big issue in the book is sort of just figured out immediately in the film, and I'm not sure it translates super well. So I'm excited to read the book actually to see how much is a book-wide mystery versus, it's just 2 minutes on screen. And then there's parts in this movie where I'm like, okay, why are we going in this direction? Oh, because it happens in the book, I bet. And it's like, we have to show that on screen, we can't change it. So it's something that's always tricky with a book adaptation to film where it's like, well, what can we cut out without losing the DNA of the story? How much can we change without losing that DNA of why people loved the book in the first place? And definitely, I think the trailer showed way too much. Were they ever going to hide the fact that Ryland meets an alien in space? No. And I think that's because Rocky is so important to the marketing as well, that they want this to be like, oh, it's a cross-creature sort of adventure or friendship film, and it's about these two guys who have nothing in common. Turns out they have way more in common, and this is about people from different backgrounds being able to bond for a mutual goal and try to save things for the greater good. You know what I mean? But the trailers sort of show every single action sequence, every single big moment from the film. There wasn't really a moment in the movie that I felt like, oh, we didn't see this in the trailers, and that's, I think, a big problem with trailers nowadays, is the willingness to just show every big beat from the story, no matter how important it is to the movie in the trailers. Sometimes it's fun when it's like, whoa, we didn't see any of this in the trailers. I think there needs to be more trust in trailers, in storytellers, to just be like, okay, you know what? We're going to hide that until the big screening. And that's really what this movie failed to do for me. And that's why maybe my rating's a little bit lower, because I'm like, well, I feel like I've seen all of this, and frustrating when you get to a movie and it's like, yeah, I've seen all of this, and it's just the context that's being provided by the film, but I've seen visually everything that's going on here. Now, also speaking of pacing, there were some moments where I wish we could have kind of just sat and digested. Like, there's a lot that goes into this movie, and it's very go, 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 which can be good, and it keeps things exciting. It keeps it entertaining, but Project Hail Mary just feels like big thing, next thing. And it's like constant revelation. And it's kind of relentless. At the end of the film, some of the big things that happen make the other big things feel a little bit worthless and meaningless. And on the flip side, the non-linear storytelling of this movie, because it is about Ryland Grace getting his memories back and discovering who he is, what he's meant to be doing, what his purpose is in life, felt a little too far apart for me. And we're meant to be getting these flashes of, Grace's memories that are coming back, but it felt very disruptive, and it almost feels like two separate movies to me, or I think there's a little bit of a struggle between the Earth stuff and the space stuff, and I loved both storylines, but the way it's being presented, the Earth stuff feels like we're disrupting the rhythm of everything that's happening in space. So I don't know, I'm a little bit torn. I'm hoping that a second viewing will really help me iron out the kinks of jumping from space to Earth. I do love the aspect ratio changes that we're getting from Earth to space. Greg Fraser does such just a phenomenal job with this film. I mean, like, he's one of the best cinematographers working right now, if not the best, other than Linus Sandgren, Hoyt van Hoytema, Eric Messerschmidt, Autumn Gerald Arkapaw. Like, there's fantastic cinematography out there right now. But Greg Fraser, he shot on anamorphic lenses, not on IMAX. They shot it on regular digital, or it's shot for IMAX, but they like shot it vertically instead of horizontally, so that's why all the lens flares are going the different directions. Really interesting. They also made like custom lenses and stuff like that. Then they digitally transferred it so it could be projected on 70mm IMAX. So this movie is just a visual feast, as well as all of the practical effects do such a great job selling this movie. There's not a lot of green screen or blue screen, if any at all. Rocky is an actual puppet that is on set and they're controlling, and it sells so much of the realness of this film, and I think that's why emotionally this all works so well. And I was just really taken aback by how real everything feels in this film, how space just feels like this real place. It feels like we are in this giant, vast, empty space that Ryland Grace is lost in, along with Rocky. Also, Ryan Gosling has talked about this a little bit now that he has kids, is this is a hopeful sci-fi film. So many sci-fi movies we've gotten in the last 10 years have been doom and gloom, the world is ending, everybody's evil. This movie is about how can we all band together and figure out this solution? How can I make a better tomorrow for everyone else? And this sort of selfless act of Ryland Grace, or the selfless journey that he's going through, and why we need to be brave in life. And I think that's a real selling point for Project Hail Mary, that people can go enjoy this hopeful story that's funny, heartwarming, about friendship, companionship. Maybe that's the biggest selling point for me, is that if you want to just feel warm and fuzzy inside, you love Ryan Gosling, you love space adventures, go watch Project Hail Mary, because it's not this depressing doom and gloom story that you're going to come out of being like, fuck, we are so messed up as a society, we're screwed, we're going to die in no time. You're going to come out of it being like, you know what, maybe we can do something in the future, maybe we all can come together. It's also very funny. You know, people just want to laugh right now. Is the movie too funny or too silly? I don't think so. I don't think Ryan Gosling's ever going off the deep end with his quirkiness or his charm or his, silliness. I think it's just a very funny movie that every single joke was working for me, and I was like, this is what the tone of the story is. It's also very sad. Does it take too many big sad swings? I think so. There was like 7 endings to this movie. There's loops of more and more story, and I get that they're trying to stay accurate to the book, but on a film adaptation, it doesn't really work for me. It just kind of kept going and going and going, but I still had that overall feeling when I left the film that it's extremely hopeful, that tomorrow could be great, that friendship matters, and we can bond across cultures, across language barriers, across species barriers, whatever it is. We need to work with humans, nature, different species, all this stuff. We're all together, and there is, possibilities where we can learn from each other. And it's just, there's so much great stuff to take away from Project Hail Mary. A couple more things. I think the science jargon, if you don't like sci-fi because you're worried you're going to get lost, this movie keeps it so simple. That was one of the main selling points of The Martian, I would say, is that it's like Matt Damon being like, I'm going to science the shit out of this, and they really do just keep it super plain. Also, the Daniel Pemberton score, fantastic here. Very overpowering, though. There were several sequences where it felt very obvious in what it's trying to do, and it's like, okay, now you will cry, now you will feel. And I think it could have peeled it back a little bit, or it could have pulled back a little bit to literally let the moment sort of sit on its own, My 2 stars and a wish. Star number 1, the film's so gorgeously shot and crafted. It really, really works from a craftsmanship point of view. Gorgeous to look at. All of the little buttons and the spaceship and everything that we're seeing, all the material stuff looks so perfect. Star number 2, I think Ryan Gosling. This is just a fantastic performance from him. Like, he is selling the hell out of this movie. I love what they're doing with the marketing with him, and him sort of talking about how personal the story is for him of wanting to be a hopeful sci-fi movie. My wish, like I said, a tough ask, but I think sharpening the runtime in the script would have been super helpful, because there's just far too much stuff in here right now. I think the third act really loses it for me, but overall, Project Hail Mary was a large success for me. I think not only at the box office, review-wise, crowds are loving this, audiences are loving it. it. There is so much to love about Project Hail Mary, and there's so much to feast on. I think it's a very rewatchable film as well. Maybe it's a long movie, yes, but it's one of those movies where I think the more you rewatch it, the more you can take little details out of it, like Ryland's shirts that he's wearing, all the science puns and stuff like that, what him and Rocky are doing. There's just so much fun to be had with Project Hail Mary. For now, I am giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think there's just a few little things holding it back for me, but it's extremely solid. Project Hail Mary is a blast. Go see it in theaters. Let's get into spoilers. All right, spoilers for Project Hail Mary. Now, I feel like the wheels really came off towards the non-spoiler section. I have so many things to say about this movie, but let's just jump into some big stuff that happens. So it's revealed right at the start that Grace is not the only one who was on his ship. He was sent into space with a Chinese astronaut and a Russian astronaut because they're on this mission to figure out the sort of virus, I guess, that the sun has, because it is a cell. That's a big revelation that we jump to, and I do really love how they discover that it's a cell, or that like what it's attracted to and stuff. Ryland Grace does this one experiment on Earth. Is it on a ship or no? It's at like a space sort of NASA warehouse thing or whatever, because him and the officer go to Home Depot together, but it's where he does that like wooden cutout box that cuts out all light, and then they turn on the infrared or whatever it is, and all of the little cell things, astromorph, I think it's called, or something like that, it goes towards the red light. It's just fun when science is cool and enjoyable and digestible. Like, so much of this movie is just digestible science that's really dumbed down and kept simple, but it's such a fun experiment to watch Ryland Grace. I don't know, some people are like, oh, is this competence porn, where it's like we just watch the smartest person ever figure everything out? But no, characters can be smart. Not everybody needs to be stupid, sarcastic, and like silly. Ryland Grace is a silly guy, but he's also an absolute genius, and that's why they got him for this mission. Then he has to replace one of the astronauts that dies on the mission, and he goes into space. It's revealed towards the start of the movie that Ryland Grace was not alone, so that's why we get those other 2 astronauts that we slowly get to learn about throughout the film, because remember, the structure is all of the Earth sequences are his memories playing out, where he's starting to slowly remember who he is, what he did, what his purpose is, and the fact that he didn't want to go to space. He didn't want to do this mission, but he was essentially forced to. He's sort of remembering, oh, I am a coward, or I was a coward on Earth, but now I can change that. I think that character trajectory works really well. What I think doesn't work with Ryland Grace is we don't really get to know him in this film. Like, I didn't feel like I really knew Grace by the film's ending. You know, he's this teacher. He was once a sort of cutting edge, or I guess frontline scientist writer dude who people thought was a little bit crazy. He wrote this thing of like, oh, we don't need water, or I can't remember what his paper was out specifically, but it's a really interesting character arc that he goes through where it feels very base level, and we're not getting to know Ryland Grace's backstory, how he grew up, yada yada yada. We know he had a partner that thought he was, you know, he had his head in the clouds, ended up leaving him for a guy named Mark or Mike or something like that. That's when we get the amazing Rocky line that's like, I hate Mark. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. One of the biggest laughs of my screening. But I thought, you know what? I feel like I don't really totally know Ryland Grace by the end of this film. I know his space version of himself and sort of the post-NASA hiring or U.S. government hiring Ryland Grace, but you don't really get a whole life picture, and maybe that's okay. It's a somewhat contained story in that element, I guess. But the big revelation alongside the fact that Grace was not alone in space is the fact that neither was Rocky. He was actually sent with like 50 other people from his planet. They all died out in their sleep except him. So one of the big sort of emotional arcs of the story is Rocky and Grace not sleeping alone. Like, they watch each other sleep, because everybody that's died in the film has died in their sleep during transport, when they all go into these medically induced coma for the sake of traveling, that you don't age. I thought that was a really gorgeous thing of they're both scared to be alone in space. They've lost certain people in their lives. They've lost important people in their lives as well, who they've gone through this massive journey with. And now they're the only 2 people left. And again, it's that storyline or that theme of people across cultures, across species at this point, and languages, feeling the same things, bonding with each other, having this shared goal for the greater good. And that's just really gorgeous. I mean, I loved all of the bonding that they go through together. The 2 of them, like, oh yes, I have a mate, or I had a mate. They want to get to know each other, and they have just so much much in common on their home worlds, and they become these best friends who just love each other, and they express love to each other in these different ways. It's just a really gorgeous friendship. It was just interesting. I just got a video before this of Phil Lord and Chris Miller talking about Ryan Gosling as an actor, how the reason he's so good with Rocky is he treats the Rocky puppet as its own character, as its human being, and gives it so much dignity and realness. And I think that translates in his performance, where it feels like Ryland Grace really views Rocky as a real person and a real creature, not just as this foreign object in space. Oh, you're made of rock. Like, you're not really, like, I see you as a pet, you know? One relationship that I found interesting, Grace and Strahd. Now, Strahd is Sandra Huller's character. It seems like there's some attraction between the two of them, or I don't know, there's a little bit of flirting or something like that. But of course, Ryland Grace has to go to space. She ends up injecting him with like the, I don't know what you would call it, the thing that it just makes him pass out. He ends up in space, and they basically send him against his will because he doesn't want to volunteer for the mission. But she's like, it's for the greater good. I'm sorry. I think that worked pretty well. Like, I really enjoyed their relationship. Could we have gotten a little bit more out of them? Maybe. One real strong point in their character arcs was the karaoke scene on the ship, where she's outside by herself and they're both like, I don't know if this is going to work or whatever. And then she goes inside and there's this like huge group bonding moment where she starts singing Harry Styles' Sign of the Times, and Ryland Grace is sort of enamored with her. It's just like this brave moment that I really took a lot from. And I just think it's a gorgeous sort of relationship that they have as well. But it did feel a little bit underserved at times, but I think it does its intended things well. Now let's talk about the best sequence of the film for me, the fishing mission. This is the big one that they have shown in the trailers over and over again. This is the docking sequence in Interstellar, where we're getting them having to scoop the stuff from the atmosphere and study it because it's the only way to kill the astromorph, right? Is that what it's called? And this was one element where I thought Daniel Pemberton's score did amazingly. I thought the directing was so fantastic here. It doesn't feel super shaky cam, like we're getting lost in the action. There's so much floating around. The work between Rocky and Grace, like how they're operating as a team, and the stakes feel so real. Ryland Grace is on the spacewalk just getting thrown around. The score is in your face. It's booming. The added sort of speed of the ship and how fast it's going into the atmosphere of the planet. Adrian, named after Rocky's girlfriend. I think there's so many elements, and that's what, you know, box office, big bombastic storytelling is about. How do we direct the scene? How do we have the underlying emotional tension of Rocky and Grace being best friends, not wanting to lose each other? If either of them die, they are now on this mission alone. Also, the score, how do we underlie this tension and build everything up while not overpowering what's on the screen and forcing the audience to feel what they're feeling, or really signaling to the audience what they should be feeling? And I think that is an issue in this film. But the fishing scene was just so perfect from start to finish. I was blown away. Unfortunately, the guy beside me decided to take his phone out, start recording the IMAX 70mm, and I was like, dude, you're being so annoying right now. And he was like taking pictures a couple times. It's just fucking annoying. Oh my God, people drive me nuts when they do that. But that was one of those movie moments where you're in a theater and you're like, yeah, this is what this is all about. This is about these big moments that are really serving on every single element between Grace's emotions, between Rocky's emotions, between the planet that they're on looking amazing, how it's shot, the cinematography, directing, score, everything combining to just give you this like 7-minute, 8-minute sequence of unbroken attention where you're so sucked in. That is what filmmaking is about, and this movie does that so well. I really enjoyed the final scene of the film. I think, yes, this movie struggles because it feels like it has a lot of endings where Rocky dies, now Ryland has to go on his own. Ryland might die and Rocky's by himself, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's just so many ending. Oh, they have to go back and they go their separate ways, but then, oh, he realizes Rocky doesn't realize that the thing is poisonous and he has to go save Rocky. There's a lot of endings here, but the actual ending of Ryland Grace being on Rocky's planet and kind of just being content with his life, knowing that he has saved Earth and they have achieved their mission, was good enough, and I really, really loved it. I'm happy that Ryland Grace is not in this rush to get back from Earth, that he's content with his friendship with Rocky. He loves being a teacher on this planet. Maybe he'll go back someday, but right now, in this moment, he's happy knowing that this other planet is safe and his home planet is also safe. I thought it was just such a a beautiful way to end the film after the multiple endings, and the really just the sort of pacing issues of the third act is really where this movie lost me a little bit, but I still think there's so much solid stuff here. There's so much solid stuff in this movie in general. I love like the roommate dynamic between Rocky and Grace, how Rocky can hear everything that Grace is saying on the ship, and Ryland Grace feels like he's going crazy because Rocky's so overbearing. I love the Ryland Grace introduction to NASA and all of the space people or non-science folks who are all working with the military and stuff. Just there's so many fun elements and character dynamics and big character moments in this movie that really worked for me. But I think I am going to wrap up the spoiler section there. I mean, look, Project Hail Mary, large success. I think there's so much more that works with this movie than doesn't work. I'm really excited for a rewatch, like I've said multiple times, to see how my perspective changes. But for now, let's get into what else I watched. Okay, what else I watched? So I have 5 TV shows to talk about and 4 movies. This is a very big TV week for me. Let's start there because I, again, did not read my Batman comic like I said I would. I've been so busy this week with work. Also, I didn't start Project Hail Mary because I thought, I'm going to have a bunch of time to read stuff this week. I was just absolutely slammed. But let's start with Survivor South Pacific, where we are on the season finale. And what a confusing season this is. People are like, oh, Brandon Hance, he's the front runner to win right now, along with Ozzy. And I'm like, in what world? People don't like him. They're all, Sophie and Albert and Coach are all like, oh, Brandon Hance, he's so loyal and trustworthy. Everyone's going to vote for him. Everybody fucking hated him and he's psycho. Like, it's just embarrassing to watch. And just the religious fanaticism on that season. Ugh, every single episode is like, oh, thank you, God, Lord Jesus. Thank you, Hail Mary, Jesus, our creator did everything. And every single conversation, every single event that happens in the season is all put down to God and all of the religious stuff. It's just so infuriating. At the end of the day, it's still like a somewhat interesting season to go back on and realize the moment that Survivor was in with Redemption Island and the Redemption Arena and all of that stuff. So you know what? We're going to finish it this week. Then we're moving on to Cow Wrong, which is season 32. Then we only have 34 and 35, and we watched every season that people from season 50 are on. So let's talk about Survivor 50, however, where this week, holy dear God, we maybe got the worst episode of Survivor I have ever watched, because it was the Zach Brown celebrity episode where he comes and the reward is that he will spearfish for the contestants who win, or the tribe that wins. He'll cook and play music for the winners at the sanctuary. Probably 20 minutes of the episode is just Zach Brown talking about his love of Survivor, what spearfishing means to him, and why he loves the ocean. Bored out of my mind. I did not care at all. And it sucks because outside of that, we had a fantastic episode of strategy with Christian turning on Mike White because Mike White sort of threw the Gabby thing in his face. And I think the whole Mike White exit has been really interesting, how he wants to make his cake but not eat it too. Mike White loves blindsiding people and he loves the drama of the show, and he loves to be like, oh wow, great job guys, you got me out. But then, some of his exit interviews, it just seems like he's so sour about it. So I don't know. I don't think he's being fully truthful of how hurt he was by the blindside. He's like, oh, I guess I underestimated my friendship, but whatever, I have my big life to go back to. Next week, we finally have a double elimination episode, and I've been so curious how they're going to get from, what are they at, 20 contestants, 19 contestants now? They have to get down to 3 by final tribal council, and there's like 17 days left. They are going to have to whip through and do some major eliminating in the next few days at least. But let's talk about The Pit, season 2, episode 11, 5 p.m. The Pit is really cooking right now. I think Dr. Mel King was fascinating this episode. Dr. Langdon, I am loving the character arc that they're taking him through, because this week he carries a kid inside from a car and you can see that he tweaks his back. And before, he was using drugs and he was using all of the patient's pain meds that he got addicted to for his back pain. So how is he going to bounce back now? I also really love that he tried to talk to Santos this week. I feel bad for Langdon. Like, I think he has a really tough storyline this season. Same with Dr. Mohan. Her life is just sort of not what she wanted it to be. And I think she's really sort of coming to realize like, oh, I don't have a life and this is kind of depressing and work is my life. I'm very curious where we're going to go from here with the ICE storyline. People were saying that, or it was reported at least, that they rewrote the ICE storyline to be a lot more, I don't know, fair or kind of held back. I think that's probably notes from HBO being like, hey, the president who notoriously likes to come after people that criticize them, maybe just tone it back a little bit. But I still think they were extremely fair in how hard Robbie was on them. And you see all these people leave the hospital pivotal because ice shows up. I'm really looking forward to these next 4 episodes, how they're going to shape the ice storyline. But I think that's all I'm going to say about The Pit. Let's move on to Invincible season 4. I'm really liking it. They released the first 3 episodes to start season 4. I'm pretty sure it's week to week now, but they always do it where they release the first couple, and it's really great. I like the whole storyline with Seth Rogen's character and Omni-Man being in space trying to figure out how they can get back to Earth, and they're trying to save all these planets that are being hurt by the Vulturemites. What are they called? Yeah, the Vulturemites or something like that. It's fun. I don't know. The animation is kind of the same thing where it's clearly taken a nosedive from the first season where it felt so expressive and every element's moving, versus now it's like one thing sort of being dragged across the screen and nothing else moving. So that's how the animation game goes. If you want a season every year, you can't get that masterful animation. It just takes too long. But yeah, if you were into Invincible before, I suggest you watch season 4. It's really great so far. I also started a new show this week that is on HBO called Rooster with Steve Carell, about this author whose daughter works at a university and he's offered a job at that university. And it's like sort of an adult coming of age, how Steve Carell's character was never confident in himself. He was in a marriage where he didn't like trust himself that he was good enough for his wife, and it came off as insecure. It's a sort of like lighthearted comedy coming of age, and I liked it. I watched the first 2 episodes, the 2 that are out. Jamie Tart dude from Ted Lasso is in it as well. He plays the ex-husband of Steve Carell's daughter, and there's a lot to like in it. I think it's really interestingly shot. Like, it's really gorgeous, and the colors that they're using. So I'm going to stay tuned week to week, but that's all I got for TV right now. Movie-wise, I watched 4 new releases. Actually, that's not true. 3 new releases and 1 movie that I had missed in 2019. The 2019 film being Ready or Not. I had started this a few years ago, maybe like way back in 2021, 2022. I think I got 5 minutes in and then I got distracted and I had to go do something else, so I did not watch it, but I finally watched it this week. It's fun and it's like silly, but it's trying so hard to have so much lore and like, I don't know, sort of world building things around it that it gets a little bit distracting at times, and it's sort of the same thing over and over and over again. I think it's fun. Samara Weaving is just fantastic as the lead, so I gave the first one, Ready or Not, 3 stars. Then of course I watched that so I could see the second one, Ready or Not 2, in theaters. I saw this in Ultra AVX at, I don't know, 10 p.m. on a Friday night, where it actually happened that one of the actors was in the crowd with about 14 of his friends. He brought them along. They were the most annoying people possible. They talked through the entire movie. They were just like cracking jokes the whole time. Anytime there was a silent moment in the movie, this one girl that was with them felt the need to be like, am I right? Blah, blah, blah. And they all laughed. And it was like, can you guys shut the fuck up? Like, I get that one of you is in the movie, but can the rest of us enjoy the movie by itself? Like, I don't need a live commentary. And it was actually Dan Barney, who plays Kip Danforth. Him and his friends were there. I don't know. I also just thought the movie was not that great. It's basically doing everything I don't like about the first movie with this like overly complicated world building and exposition, dialing it up to 10, where Elijah Wood, for the first probably 45 minutes of the movie, it's just exposition. Elijah Wood explaining what's happening with the family, what needs to be done. Dr. Abbott, Sean Haught, who plays Dr. Abbott on The Pit, he's in it. He plays one of the sons or one of the children of David Cronenberg, who I think is absolutely wasted in the film. He's in one scene and then he's just done. But him and Sarah Michelle Gellar are David Cronenberg's kids, and I thought they were both terrible in the movie. Like, oh my god, they are so hokey and cheesy. Just didn't work at all for me. I think Catherine Newton is a fun new addition and goes well with Samara Weaving, but I didn't really feel a lot of Samara Weaving in this movie. She feels extremely pulled back, way less focused, because we have this whole David Cronenberg kid, Danforth children storyline and all of the other sort of seats of the High Council or whatever bullshit they're trying to explore. Just, there's way too much going on in this movie. I think it loses the focus of what I liked about the first movie. Instead, it's leaning into what I didn't like about the first movie with all the world building exposition. So I gave the second one 2.5 stars. So 3 stars for Ready or Not, 2.5 for Ready or Not Here I Come, or Ready or Not 2 Here I Come. Then after that, I watched War Machine on Netflix. This is a film. It's basically, I don't know, Predator, I guess. It's like a military simulation team or like a Marines training team has to go on their final mission, but it ends up that there's aliens on Earth and it's not a fake mission or it's not a simulation. There's actual aliens that they're fighting. It stars Alan Richson, I think just Richson, who plays 81. We never learned his name in the movie. I thought it was so bad. Some movies that were military propaganda before could hide it a little bit behind a good script. This one is just a 2-hour Marine training training montage or commercial where, oh, the military is going to heal all of your problems in life, and your siblings wanted you to join. And also the CGI is just so goddamn bad. Every single scene is just plastered with over the top gray smudgy Netflix CGI. I just really did not take a lot from it. I think the performances are bad, the story's derivative, CGI is terrible, really bad pacing issues where it's just like jumping all over the place, and the character dynamics are just so bland, overused. I gave War Machine 2 stars. But the final movie I watched this week, what a trip it was. Reminders of Him, the new Colleen Hoover adaptation from the book Reminders of Him. I have never watched a Colleen Hoover adaptation. I watched the last 30 minutes of It Ends With Us with my girlfriend because she was finishing it. Did not watch Remember Me. Was that her last film? Remember Me, right? With Dave Franco and all them. Then, Reminders of Him, I decided to just bite the bullet because I want to see the new releases this year. Holy dear God, I could not believe what I was watching. It is so over the top, cheesy. The story has some very questionable morals, and I made a video about it on my social media this Saturday, but I can't believe the weird storylines that she goes to, where a woman comes out of prison, she goes to her hometown because she wants to reunite with her daughter. She falls in love with her dead boyfriend's best friend, who she never met before, who is kind of the stepdad now of her daughter. Really, really weird relationships that are going down. The morals of it are very confusing to me. The performances were absolutely terrible. It's interesting to see, what's happened with Micah Monroe since Longlegs. I think she's fantastic in Longlegs, and since then, I have not watched her in anything good. I don't know. It seems like this is a really weird career step for her. She made another rom-com, not a rom-com. It was just a romantic film, and it was on Hulu. I think it was last year. I didn't end up watching it because it just looked like Reminders of Him, and I don't know why I saw this. I think because I'm just trying to watch more new 2026 releases, like I said. So I was like, you know what? I'll see Reminders of Him. I was struggling to hold in my laughter for a huge majority of this movie. Almost every scene, something absolutely out of pocket happens, and I was trying not to giggle. When the credits rolled, all of the women around me, at least 8 women, were all sobbing. Like, you could hear the sniffles and the and I was like, wow, that's like a religious experience to go through. I cannot believe what I just watched. It's just like so interesting how Colleen Hoover can have completely different reactions on people. The girl beside me was laughing actually throughout the movie a little bit as well. She was like giggling in really bad parts, but then she ended up crying at the end, and I was like, God damn, like, okay, she knows that this is kind of silly, but still emotionally moving. I don't know. There wasn't a lot I really took from it. I gave it 2 stars. Just a really, really, really whack movie. But for now, that has been what else I watched. And in fact, I think that's going to do it for episode 112, Project Hail Mary. My God, so much happens in this movie. It's so hard to shrink it down. But overall, I thought it was a really fun theater experience. I have my issues with the film, but extremely solid. Go watch Project Hail Mary. And as always, rate and review the show 5 stars wherever you get your great podcasts, like Watcher of All Things, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Acast. We are, of course, an Acast produced show. On Spotify, you can literally drop a comment right underneath the episode. What'd you think of Project Hail Mary, the Dune Part 3 trailer, Spider-Man Brand New Day, anything you can think of? Drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're on the YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, comment down below. What movies are you looking forward to the rest of the year? What do you think of Project Hail Mary? Are you a book first or movie first, reader, movie, film adaptation person? Personally, I like watching the movies or the shows first, then reading the book, just because it's like screen first for me, baby. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us, watcherofallthings@gmail.com, and find me on social media. Instagram and Threads are at Watcher of All Things, and the TikTok account is at watcher.of.all.things. I post on social media every single day. I do tons of different videos and things like that. I post Thursday reviews of the movies I see. I post clips from the podcast. I post random topic videos, like I did a Dune Part 3 initial reaction this week, and it's a lot of fun. I also do a Friday 5, where every Friday I recommend 5 things you should watch this weekend. You can also follow my personal Letterboxd account, KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70. Follow me on there. Drop a comment under one of my reviews that you found me through the show. I will follow you back. Let's build a little community. Next week, a movie I haven't really been anticipating, but it is coming out. They Will Kill You. It has Zazie Beetz. I think it has what's his name? The guy who played Malfoy in Harry Potter. I don't know. He's kind of a washed up actor. It looks like a basically Ready or Not ripoff, but we'll watch that next week. For now, thank you all so much for listening and the kind messages that I get from you guys every single week. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.